Alright, so I just wanted to make this video to show off my workflow for these stylized trees I've made in Blender here. They have a lot of different interesting techniques going on, a lot of procedural workflows, a lot of things I've done to try and make it very unique and stylized. So yeah, there's if we look at, we'll ignore the textures for now and just look at the modifier stack. We can see what's happening here is we have a skin modifier on the trunk and a subdivision surface after that, and the leaves, the little blobby leaves, are made of metaballs, which after I convert them to a mesh, they look like this. Quite a messy thing, and we can run them through a remesher and they'll look more like this, which is a little more game friendly, and they could probably be lower poly if you needed them to be. But yeah, they're quite friendly things. This also, if you look at the mesh of this is you can have it without the subdivision surface, a little chunkier, but with the smooth shading on it looks okay. I like to add a little bit more of a smoothness to it with the subsurface modifier. So yeah, if I were to turn off the skin modifier, you could see what's happening underneath. It's literally just the bones of a tree here that we're putting the skin modifier on, and then we are smoothing it over. And it's as easy as that. And so if I were to come in here and delete this tree and bring in a plane, for some reason you can't start this process with just a vertex, you need to start it with a line. So I like to delete all but one line here, set the origin to the geometry, rotate it so it's a vertical line, and bring it down to the bottom more or less of my plane. We're going to move it around later. So now that is the basis of our tree. Let's start by extruding out these little feet here at the base, and a nice way of making sure we're staying on this flat base plane is as we extrude out. If I press Shift and Z, that will lock us into these two, to this ground plane. It will stop us from wanting to go up, so even if it looks like I'm going up, what we're doing is actually staying on that ground plane. So extruding, locking it there, moving it around, doing the same thing over here. Shift Z, there we go. Move that back a bit. And this is a process of kind of messiness and making things look natural. At this stage I like to bring in the skin modifier. Where is the skin? And immediately we got something that's starting to look like a tree, and that's why we can now bring up that base. Nice smooth shading. Well, not yet. Put the branch smoothness all the way up. Or down. I don't know why we've got such a strange thing going on there, but if we were to add the subsurf modifier, that's looking a little better. Add the smoothness. Right, okay. Now that's basically a tree. We could put some leaves on the top of that and call it a tree, but we've got these feet that don't look nice. They look a bit bobbly, and the thing with the trunk of a tree is that it tends to get smaller as it goes to the top. Things get smaller as they come to the end here. So we want to be able to control the sort of thickness of each point on our thing. I call them nodes, the nodes of the tree. So what we can do is, in edit mode, with a vertex selected, we'll get, in the item selection here, we'll get this vertex data, and the radius XY. If we scroll down to them both, and I hold Shift as I do this to make the scrolling a lot slower. That way we can actually scale them, because if we were to press S and try to scale a vertex, there isn't anything really to scale. Something does happen with the skin modifier, but nothing negligible. So we will bring these in, and we'll like to scale these down, bring this out a bit. Do the same over here, bring this out a bit, this one out a bit. And scale that in like that, and scale that there. Now let's have a look at that. That's a little better. And it clears up. It's a process of sort of doing what feels right. It's a natural process, this kind of modelling. You don't have to think. It's a stylized tree, don't think too much about it. Don't think, trying to think about what looks good from your perspective and what kind of tree you want to see. Doing just what I think a tree should look like. Okay, so I'll scale that up to the top, make that a little thicker. Now we can add our meta balls. So if I come into here, it's the add menu, select meta ball. There we go, simple meta ball. I don't know much about meta balls, they're quite confusing to me. All I know is that you come into edit mode here, just like a normal mesh, and you have, there we go. Yep, we can select it and we can duplicate it, and they will sort of mush together. And you can see what I've done with these other trees here. I've kind of done lots of different things. This is a sort of small, big meta ball. This one's got a nice cool chamber through the centre of it, I quite like. This is a little smoother, like a pyramid kind of shape. So it's just about like what feels good. I like to look at reference, go to video games that have some interesting stylized trees and try to get some inspiration. Definitely want to sort of try to make a bit of a canopy or like shelter. So if we grab this, and you can scale them in as well. Scale them, try not to make them look too clean and positioned. Again, it's a natural chaotic thing we're making here. It's a tree. There we go, maybe this is a bit big, maybe we'll scale it in a bit and find the sort of visual balance of it all. Bring it down. How does that look? It maybe needs a bit of a rotation. And there we go, and we've got a tree. A bit of a wild, crazy tree. So I like to convert this to a mesh as soon as possible, because metaballs are just crazy and confusing. So get them to meshes, and like you can see, this is a bit crazy and not really usable. You can remesh that. There are add-ons you can get that will just do one-click remesh, or you could do it yourself. I wouldn't enjoy that. I mean, maybe if I were to sort of limited dissolve it, makes it a little better, but still not great. It's fine because we can move on to the texturing, because it's procedural, our texturing workflow for these, so we don't need a mesh really. We can do it all in these unfinished forms. Right, and we have two materials going on here. We have a bark shader and we have a leaves shader. Leaves, whatever. First thing I notice is that I'm going to need to apply my scale and my rotation here. It's always important when you're dealing with procedurals, make sure that your scale and rotation is set, so you've got sort of uniformity across all your models. And so this is what they look like. We'll start with the bark. If we look at this closely, it's very stylized, it's a very suggestive kind of material. And I've tried to simplify it here in the node editor. So what we've got is three separate kind of elements. We've got the wavy lines that you see here, and that's mostly driving the colour, but it's also driving the normal. You can see that the lines are sort of cut in a bit, and that's just that's normal information that we're generating from this wave texture. So this is what the colour looks like, a sort of flat colour of the thing. We're also using this information to drive a bump, specifically this bump. You can see that it's generating that, so we're taking that through the colour ramp all the way down into this bump, and that's where all our normals are being generated down here. So on top of that nice carved in shape there, we have just a general roughness. It's given us a nice tactile surface detail, and then in the middle here we just have a standard roughness map generated from a noise texture, which is giving us a little, like, some bits are shiny, some bits are matte. It's just a nice extra detail, and it's easy enough with the noise texture. So that's that, and yeah, you can screen grab this if you want to copy this exact thing. It will probably be different based on your model, and with these, so it's all being driven really by these three textures here: noise texture, and a wave texture. Some of my favourites, that and a Voronoi texture. You can pretty much do anything, but you can see how powerful this is, because I've kind of positioned this, and if I were to put, if I press Control T, ooh, it's gone over there, it will give me the mapping and texture coordinate node, and that way I can get a little bit more control over the angle that this is coming in. I can rotate it around the model. You can do all kinds of things, and you can, yeah, there's just lots of we can also use this kind of XYZ here to change how that's being applied. This is why you want to apply your rotation. Make sure that the thing is rotated as it should be, so you can control the things in an understandable way with these textures. And we'll look at the leaves now, and the leaves are a little more simple. Just we've got colour and normal here, and the colours are Voronoi. If you look at it up close, you can see the Voronoi there. It's ooh, yeah, it looks like that. And we've just run those procedurals through a hue saturation that's affecting the value. So we've chosen a green here. We could choose this to be any really colour, a bit lighter. Make a blue tree. But that's just showing us that, like, this Voronoi texture is deciding that is changing the value, the darkness. So some of it's dark blue, some of it's light blue. Quick way of adding loads of detail there. Hue saturation value is your friend. You can plug this into this result into the saturation as well, and you'll get a variety of saturations. I don't like that because it's pushed the saturation up in some places, and I don't really enjoy that. But this is a fun one. If you were to plug in the hue, then you get wild variations in the hue. Yeah, that's that. And then the bump here. The bump is quite subtle, but it's just giving us a little extra geometry, or a little hint of extra geometry, giving us a little bit of bump. But you can decide this is all your sort of style. If you want this bigger, you can make it bigger. If you want it stronger, you can make it stronger. Lots of things to play with on a Voronoi. It's very fun. You have loads of options. Yes, very powerful nodes. Very much big fan of this kind of workflow, especially when it comes to sort of cartoony stuff. It's super easy. Yeah, so that's how I do it. And obviously, from this point, you have to bake these textures. You go and you'd apply all of this, apply. Now you've got a mesh, and now you can do your unwrapping. You can mark your seams and stuff. I find it doesn't give you terrible geometry. Like I said, you'll need a. Let's see if I can find it. Add-ons. Remesh. Oh, I do have it applied. Where is it then? Q remesher. Here we go. We'll give this a go. There are professional remeshers out there that will probably give you better results, but this one was free. It's called Q remesher, and it gives you a result like that. And I think that's okay, really, for a quick project. Figure out how you want to unwrap that. I'm not looking forward to that. And there you go. Nice little tree, procedural textures, easy workflow. Let's get the leaves back on there. There you go.